Hi, I'm Monica Ortiz, and welcome to the Cuse Quarter. I'm your host for tonight's show. I'm here with the three analysts, Tommy Farrell, Julian Whigham, and Jonathan Singh. We're going to talk about the matchup this week for Syracuse football against Middle Tennessee State. Tommy, Middle Tennessee played Vanderbilt last week. How did that look?
Yes, Monica. They played Vanderbilt last week, an SEC opponent. They lost 28-6. However, I do give them the credit for challenging themselves in the first week of the season, playing an SEC opponent. They lost 28-6. However, the quarterback only threw for 166 yards, and senior Brent Stockstill, the son of the head coach, who's Rick Stockstill. He's been there for 12 years. So Brent, the quarterback, he's been bleeding blue most of his life. He threw one interception, and he was also sacked 5 times. And Coach Stockstill has also said that the O-line is going to be a weakness this year. So they're going to have to work on, some O-line techniques this week to go against Syracuse's powerful defensive line. And their wide receiver, Richie James, set a record 15th game with 100 yards reception. That is a Middle Tennessee State record. So the Syracuse D-backs are also going to have to look to lock down Richie James.
And Syracuse played Central Connecticut last week. John, how did that look?
Yeah, it was a high-scoring affair. Syracuse dropping 50 points offensively, had 3 points off turnovers, 31-0 at the half. Central Connecticut State, not the toughest opponent, guys, but hey, it was a good icebreaker for week 1.
There's a former Syracuse coach coming back to play on a turf he used to call home, Coach Schaefer, with players that he used to recruit. How does that impact the game, Julian?
All right. Well, for Syracuse, it's not that big of a deal. I feel like Shea coming back because, honestly, it's been a year, and players have grown up. Coach Babers has alluded to, okay, Shea will get to see his players grow up in the year system, and Coach Shea gets to see a finished product. A lot of people have kind of hyped this thing up like, Shea coming back is going to be really emotional. Honestly, I think the guy's going to come back and want to just beat up on his defense. It's a competitive environment. I know Shea's going to be fired up. Coach Babers' offense will also be ready to go. It should be a good matchup, but, I'm hoping that there isn't that much of an emotional attachment to it as well.
And guys, this is going to be an emotional one for Coach Schaefer. He's coming back to his old office. He's walking in. There's someone else at his desk, Coach Babers. So it's going to be an emotional one on both sides of the ball. Julian, you played for Coach Schaefer. How does his tempers flare?
Yeah, he creates issues with people sometimes that aren't even really there. But he's just a vengeful guy, just in his own personality. So he's definitely already telling his guys, if you can find a way to win this game, you're my best friend. And I know it. He wants to create an issue so that he can be fired up for the game, so he can fire up his players, and it should be a fun match.
And he also said that his senior linebacker, DJ Sanders, he said to him, "If we beat Syracuse, you'll be my best friend." So that says it right there. That he's taking this a little more personal than he won any other game for the whole regular season.
If you get fired from your job before you can get to finish out the season, there's going to be a little bit of ill will in there, a little bit. So I'm sure he's going to be fired up to coach this game. He's going to be excited. He's always finding little ways to hype himself up and his team. So this is definitely going to be one of them. Definitely feeling the fight.
This one is personal. Week 2, they came off a loss to Vanderbilt. This is a tough team. SEC, Syracuse breaking the ice early against Central Connecticut State. This is a big one.
Absolutely.
And I think Schaef's going to he's going to come after Dungy a little bit. He recruited him.
That's his guy.
Dungy played for him for a year. They know each other very well. And I think with the linebacker crew that Schaefer has at Middle Tennessee State, he's going to come after him a little bit, which will also, I think, set up some one-on-one matchups with Ish and the wide receivers on the perimeter for Syracuse.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Coach Schaefer's defense, it's a cover 4, aggressive 4-3 multiple defense. And what that means is he's going to line up in a 4-3 multiple set, play cover 3 behind it, and go after your quarterback. Back when he was coaching us, he would always say, squeeze him and put him into the ground, talking about quarterbacks. And I know he's talking about Dungy, saying the same thing. He's going to want to come after him. He's going to find little different ways to bring that blitz and attack that weak offensive line that we have at Syracuse right now. 2 freshmen on the line right now, I might add.
Two redshirt freshmen. And what Dungy was saying, I think, earlier in the week was that they didn't show a lot of blitzing and they didn't show a lot of pressure against Vanderbilt. They were trying to play pass heavy towards an SEC school. So Dungy was actually looking at old films of Schaefer's defense when he was at Syracuse and trying to study up on the past Coach Schaefer and to see what different types of to see everything he can get.
Middle Tennessee is going to bring the heat. That's no doubt about it. They want to have Dungy on the ground. How can the offensive line respond? Can they get their blocks down? Can they protect the quarterback? Last week against Central Connecticut, Dungy, he was utilizing the sideline. The sideline is now his best friend. Dungy cannot be taking these pounds that he took last year.
Since Middle Tennessee State's constantly putting pressure on the quarterback. How does Dungey keep the same consistency as he did last game?
Yeah, the biggest thing is just going to be that quick pass game that Syracuse runs. They love the stock routes on the outside with Steve Ishmael. We saw it last week with Central Connecticut State. They love to hit Irv Phillips in the slot. And Ravian Pierce is shown to be a valuable red zone threat as well. The biggest thing I'm thinking for Dungey is getting that ball out quickly. You don't want linebackers getting up on top of you. And then, of course, for the fans and everybody watching the game, you don't want your quarterback getting hit. And the best way to do that is to get the ball out quickly. So
a lot of that helps with the short routes, the short patterns. Dungey last week went 28 for 36, 300 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So it's there. The short game's there. Coach Babers and the offense, they're going to do what they can to make the offense a lot higher pace.
And in the past, we've also, Syracuse had an issue against quick passing game back when I was playing 2012, 2015. We always had that issue as a secondary trying to counter the quick pass game because when you're running cover 3 behind it, it's hard to, when you got guys coming back all the time, then coming up to make a tackle. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how Coach David Schaefer has amended those issues since he last coached.
And Coach Schaefer has a great cornerback in Mike Minter, senior, redshirt senior from Middle Tennessee State. He's a 6 footer, not too tall, but if he's covering Ish or Phillips out there on the perimeter, and either they're playing man or cover 3, it doesn't matter. I think that's going to make for an interesting matchup.
There's speed. There's definitely speed there, and it's going to be a good matchup on the far end.
On the flip side, Middle Tennessee State's offense, how do you think that's going to look against Syracuse's defense this upcoming week?
Well, I think I know I addressed it earlier in the show. Their offensive line is going to be, I think, that's their key to win the game. If their offensive line, cleans up what they did against Vanderbilt last week. They let up 5 sacks, which isn't too many, but that's too much against an SEC school. And then when you have the powerful front 7 that Syracuse has, that O-line is going to be key to protect Stockstill.
That D-line of Syracuse is going to bring it. They want to have Stockstill on the ground.
Syracuse is favored to win by 10 points on their home turf. In your mind, is that predictable? Is that true? Is that fair?
10 points, you take what you get. At the end of the day, the games are won on the field. Not by the numbers, not by the spreads. I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a good game. You have 2 good quarterbacks going at it. You have 2 good coaches going at it.
I actually, with Noons, I even said it's going to be a 31-21 game. I agreed with the spread. I think it's going to be close in the first half, and then I think Syracuse pulls away in the fourth after making a few adjustments. This Middle Tennessee State struggled against a Vanderbilt team that I think might even be better than Syracuse right now. So if they're struggling there, I don't know how they'll be able to manage to stay in the game with Syracuse right now. I'm hoping it's a close game. Really hope that Coach Shea brings it. Should be a great matchup between this Middle Tennessee State team and Syracuse. But I agree with the spread, and I have them at 31-21.
I agree with both John and Julian.
They're going to cover. They're going to cover.
Well,
the spread.
I think Vegas knows. I think Vegas knows exactly what they're talking about. It fluctuated from 8.5. Now it's up to 10 for a reason. I think it's going to be a 10-point game, but like you said, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game as well. I don't think Schaefer is going to play the defense he's expecting the Blue Raiders to play. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but Syracuse will win by 10.
They'll win this game. It's going to be high-scoring. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be an air show, and looking forward for a good one.
Julian, you predicted the outcome to be 31-21. What are your guys' predictions for the final score?
I'm going high here. I don't know what the under-over is, but I'm going 55-40 Orange.
I think it's going to be a shootout as well. Syracuse is going to cover and going to win big. They're going to beat the Blue Raiders 41-31.
Going to have to go with Syracuse on top in this one by 10 points, 45-35. Be sure to catch them at the Carrier Dome at 3:30 on Saturday. Be sure to catch our show next week. We're going to preview Syracuse against Central Michigan.